Hello and welcome back to the FLOURBARN homestead. I'm Lily, and along with my sister and my dad, I own a little bakery called the FLOURBARN. Our little bakery is located right on our family farm, and each week we are open on Fridays and Saturdays 8 to 11, and we also host a baking or cooking class each week. I would love to take you along to show you what it looks like around here during the holidays. Christmas Eve is one of the biggest days for cinnamon rolls, which means it's a busy day for us. So there's a lot of baking going on, as well as one of our favorite classes of the year, our Christmas cookie class. We'd love to welcome you to join us in this week at our bakery, so pour yourself a cup of coffee and get ready for some baking. Growing up, I was always so blessed to have two grandmas that I was so close to on my mom's side and my dad's side. I would say a lot of my baking knowledge came from spending time in the kitchen with my grandmas. And now I just love seeing how my kids get to spend so much time with their grandma. My mom does watch my kids while I work out in the bakery, and she's actually continued on a tradition that is very special to me. My grandma used to, every time we would come over, she would have stockings for each of her grandchildren, and if I came to visit, she would have a little surprise in my stocking, or if my cousins came to visit, there was a little present in their stocking. And it was just something small, like sometimes it was even just a little thing of chapstick, but it just felt extra special going over there during the holiday season. And it's really almost just as exciting as a parent to come and get to see your kids experience those traditions that you had when you were a kid. It gave me an extra pep in my step as I headed out to the bakery to get started on my week of baking. I had a very busy week because we're not only prepping things for this week, but we're also trying to get ahead so that we are prepared for one of our biggest weeks, which is Christmas Eve. And although we don't do a huge variety for Christmas Eve pickup, we do a large amount of cinnamon rolls. And what was extra exciting today is that Lizzie brought in this mug she got as a gift that has a little ceramic cinnamon roll at the bottom. Lizzie made herself a white chocolate peppermint latte, and I tried to get her to do the thumbs up, but she refused. But she did let me film her making this huge batch of brioche dough. This is a 64-quart mixer that we bought used from an old pizza shop, and then we actually painted it this blue color to make it a little bit easier to clean and up to code for our local health department. And so she's putting the dough hook on, and she just goes ahead and mixes the wet ingredients together just to get them evenly distributed. This is my simple brioche recipe, so you could add all the ingredients at one time. However, on such a large level, making this much brioche at one time, it is nice to get things evenly distributed so that they mix up evenly. One great tip that I would give anyone who has their own micro bakery is reconfigure your recipes so that it makes things easier for you. So this particular recipe was reconfigured so that it would fit 50 pounds of flour in it, so that instead of having to scoop and measure 50 pounds, we just buy 50-pound bags of flour, and then you just have to dump the bag into the recipe. For those of you who have never heard of brioche, brioche is just a enriched dough. So maybe if you've had a simple white bread, that may just have flour, water, and a leavener. This is enriched with sugar, it has butter, it has eggs, and it is extra delicious. A lot of people use it as the base for babka breads, any type of sweet roll, any type of twists. Have you seen those beautiful wreaths people make with jam in there and do a twist? This bread is the base for many different designs of dough. After the dough has been kneaded properly, and we do this by testing it by performing a window pane test, after we know it's ready, we separate it into 107 ounces, and then we shape that into a ball, and then we store it in the fridge for a long fermentation period. We shape them into 107-ounce balls because we know that's the exact amount of dough we want for each rollout. This keeps our rollouts consistent in that they each weigh the same, and then they are rolled out to the same thickness. And then once we turn those into cinnamon rolls or gingerbread rolls or whatever we end up rolling that in that period, we know that they're made with the same amount of dough, the same amount of thickness, and that helps them to stay consistent. We also offer sheet cakes at our bakery. You can buy our sheet cakes by the slice, or we do offer them for pre-order. We don't do any customization, but we do offer coconut cake and a chocolate raspberry cake, and it is a double layered sheet cake. What you see me doing is this is the coconut cake, and I'm putting on a sheet pan, and we use sheet pan extenders to allow us to cook cakes in the standard sheet pan. And this is my coffee for the day, and I will give you the proper thumbs up, but my dad actually made me a caramel cappuccino. So this is me moving from baking those cakes. So I'm baking the coconut cakes, I'm baking the chocolate cakes, and this is me making the buttercream in bulk for those cakes that we will be selling this weekend. So after Lizzie was done with the dough, I moved on to the buttercream. I have already beat the butter properly. So you want to beat your butter for about 5 minutes until you can see that it lightens in color. And then you can go ahead and add your vanilla, you can add your powdered sugar, and then you beat that again until it looks smooth and fluffy. And it's really amazing how it changes from this kind of clumpy mixture to a beautiful bright white buttercream. Each Christmas, we used to host a gift basket bar, and it was one of my favorite times of the year. But as me and Ellen both started to have children, we realized that we wanted to keep the holiday season special for our families and not just capitalize on a busy season for our bakery. So we did give up a couple of things, and one of those things was doing the gift basket bar. And I will say this year, we have really been able to just take our time and enjoy the peacefulness of the holiday season. We both have young kids who have just been so excited about everything, and being able to just take time to just make cookies with them and to decorate with them has been really special. And that's not to say we haven't been fairly busy here at the bakery, but we have room to breathe this year. And we do like to be a certain amount of busy because we are off the whole month of January. We take that break every year, and so we are always definitely excited for that break, and it really gives us the energy to get through that last part of the holiday season. This was an extra Christmassy day because this was actually the first Christmas cookie class of the season. And to celebrate, I thought I would make myself my favorite holiday latte, a frosted white chocolate latte. And actually, you guys know I always make myself a flat white, which is just a little bit less milk, a little more of that espresso taste. And all of my favorite lattes probably have white chocolate in them. I think all sauces make things taste richer. So I use the Monin brand for both my frosted mint syrup and then also the white chocolate sauce. Then I'm going to go ahead and grind my espresso beans. We use Hemisphere coffee roasters. You can find them online. We do have our own coffee that we get through them called Bakery Blend, but this is their honey espresso, and we love that. And then we also offer decaf as well. but I'm going to go ahead and pour my espresso, and then I'm going to steam my milk, and I'll have my favorite frosted white chocolate latte. There's nothing worse than when you make a latte and you get to the end and all of the flavor is stuck at the bottom. So we always stir our espresso before we add any of the milk to it. We do this with our iced lattes as well as our hot lattes. And what I'm doing by steaming the milk is I'm basically starting with the wand kind of towards the top of the milk. You'll hear kind of a ripping paper sound, and that is creating a foam. And then you want to create a vortex with that wand to help incorporate the foam into the rest of the milk. And it will leave you with this beautiful, almost wet paint, white paint looking steamed milk. And that is just such a creamy and delicious texture for any latte. This was as delicious as I remember, but coffee time's over and we have to get to work. So for this class, we have 4 different stations. One of them is making a ginger molasses cookie. We have a Linzer station and then also a shortbread station. And then the last station, we're going to have each of our groups ice and decorate some cookies, sugar cookies that we've already rolled out and baked. So to prep for the class, Ellen was making this demo, and I thought I would just show you guys in case you ever want to recreate this little cookie. It's kind of based on the Little Debbie Christmas tree cookies. We just thought that would be a cute, different way to decorate this Christmas tree cutout, and a simple one for each of our students to follow. If you're looking for the recipe for our sugar cookies, I will link that below, as well as our favorite cookie buttercream. It's amazing how much there is to learn about cookies, something that we've probably all grown up baking. Maybe it's our go-to bake. But Ellen has so many great tips on cookies. And this class is just fun because not only do you learn a lot, but it also feels like a Christmas party. So it's just a really fun time to be able to spend time with our customers. A lot of people who take these classes, I've seen them before, whether it's on Saturday or they've taken other classes, and we do get to know our customers very well, and it just makes classes that much more fun. This was a class that I was just assisting with, which was really nice. I was able to just be a little bit more relaxed because I wasn't in charge of this class. I was able to help out if anyone had questions. I was able to get some filming in, and I was able to kind of socialize with our customers and just enjoy the class while Ellen took the reins for this class. My favorite Christmas cookies are these ginger molasses cookies. We sell them at the bakery on Saturdays, and they're just so simple, but they really taste very gourmet. So I would definitely say you should give them a try. We have a regular bakery version of these cookies, and then we also have a fresh milled flour version of this recipe, and I will link that in the description below. Another station we had at our cookie class was the shortbread cookie station. We prepped this shortbread dough ahead of time, and then we kept it in the fridge so that when our students were ready to stamp the tops, the dough was cold. This is no small task. It's definitely a workout, but the dough does need to be cold to be able to bake properly. So we had them stamp these while still cold, and then if properly stamped, they'll have this beautiful design on top, and they did turn out gorgeous and they tasted amazing. After each student worked with their dough actually went back into the freezer for about 10 minutes before baking, and this just helped the dough to solidify and just bake properly. It's kind of like when you see in a recipe, chill your dough in the fridge for an hour. We were kind of redoing that process with the freezer, so it was just a quick trip to the freezer for about 10 minutes. We open this class up to the public. Um, People pay a fee and we do all the work, we do all the cleanup. But I also think this would be a really fun thing to start doing with your family, is having these stations. I know a lot of people do cookie decorate or cookie baking for the Christmas season. And I do think this setup was really nice to be able to get lots of cookies in a short amount of time. We broke it up into 4 islands. We had some of the dough prepped, some of the dough was made right there, and it just allows you to get lots of different kinds of cookies. Like the difference between the ginger molasses and the shortbread and the Linzer, they were all so unique, and it just made it fun at the end of the class to gather up all of our different cookies. So here are the Linzers. They were probably my favorite looking cookies that we did. They were so beautiful with powdered sugar on top. But definitely, as I mentioned, my favorite tasting cookie is the ginger molasses. And just like that, it's 4 a.m. on Saturday morning. I'm making myself another frosted mint white chocolate flat white. And these cakes are looking extra beautiful today. We just started selling our sheet cakes, and they're actually double sheet cakes. So there's 2 layers of cake, but they're kind of in a sheet pan format. We have just started selling them individually as cakes. So you can actually buy cakes from us. We used to just sell them by the slice, but now people are able to pre-order them. And that's right in time for Christmas and just holiday parties in general. So that's been a really fun new thing we started doing. Here I am topping our cream croissants. So during the winter, we always offer our strawberry and cream croissant all year round. But our seasonal croissant we call it the winter white croissant. And it is raspberry and a white chocolate mousse. And it is so delicious. But it does require us to make a mousse in the morning. I have gotten a lot of requests for doing a croissant class or sharing our croissant recipe, and I hesitate to do that because we didn't really start doing pastry until we got a commercial sheeter. So to share my recipe that I created exclusively with that commercial piece of equipment almost seems wrong because I don't know if you could replicate it by hand. Sheeters don't have any warmth to them. They don't add warmth to the dough, so you don't have to worry as much about the butter melting into the layers. So I have to do some independent research to come up with a recipe that suits rolling and laminating by hand. And when I do that, I will let you guys know. But as you guys know, I have my hands full right now. So I really only know how to laminate using that piece of equipment. So that's why I haven't yet done a video on laminating or even shared a recipe, because I just don't know if it's applicable to those of you at home who do not have access to a commercial sheeter. Here are our pecan rolls. This is a recipe that we actually spent a lot of time perfecting. So we use a caramel base and then we put down pecans, and then we actually have a sheet of cinnamon rolls that we take from and then put them into that caramely pecan syrup, and then we bake it just like you see, and then we flip them while they're still warm. So in the beginning, we used to do this with a full sheet pan, and flipping the sheet pan was very hot because you got to do it while they're warm. So it was difficult to do with the big oven mitts on. And also we just didn't feel like it was a good distribution of the caramel, because the caramel would kind of sink to one side of the pan, or if there was a dent in it, it would kind of all consolidate in one area. But once we started using these pans, it worked out perfectly, because there was also a time where we thought, well, why don't we just make the filling and add it onto our cinnamon rolls? But then it just didn't give the cinnamon rolls the gooiness. It was really just like eating a cinnamon roll with pecan pie filling on top. This gives your cinnamon rolls a gooiness that you just can't replicate without baking it in that caramel. So this was such a nice discovery to make. And now I'm looking over at Ellen's sourdough. She has been doing these little Christmas trees on the sourdough, and it's so cute. And then I had to get busy making this white chocolate mousse. We started by whipping together cream cheese and a white chocolate or melted white chocolate. We whip that into the KitchenAid with the whisk attachment, and then we slowly fold in the cream cheese white chocolate whipped mixture with whipped cream. So in the big mixer is my already whipped whipped cream. In the little mixer is that white chocolate cream cheese, and I'm slowly folding it in. So I start by adding the whipped cream to the white chocolate, and then I added that whole mixer back into the big thing of whipped cream. And I'm just folding it in and making sure that I don't allow that white chocolate and cream cheese, the heaviness from it, to deflate my whipped cream. That's really the worry here. And it didn't, and this looks beautiful and fluffy, and it is ready to go on my winter white croissants. So to make my winter white croissants, I start by putting raspberry jam down on the bottom of the croissant. And as some of you know, we bake our croissants on Fridays, and then we cut them in half with an electric knife so that they're all ready to be filled on Saturday morning. So I put my raspberry jam down, and then I pipe on my white chocolate mousse. And then I will top it with my croissant again. I'll add a little dollop of whipped cream and some white chocolate chips to the top of these beautiful croissants. People will often say to me, like, wow, you're really living the dream. And honestly, I agree with them. I think that I'm living a dream life. Someone said to Lizzie the other day, she's recently engaged. She works at a bakery. They're like, your life is a Hallmark movie. And it kind of is. But I think it's always fun to keep goals in mind. And I think what would be a really fun thing for us is one day if we had, a full staff of employees, and maybe I could spend a little more time making like patisserie or something. And like you see those really fancy decorated croissants at certain bakeries. And one day I would love to have the time to be able to like intricately decorate a tray of tarts or a tray of pastries. But because we are such a small business, we are trying to do things as quickly, as efficiently, and as deliciously as possible. So our priorities are making good pastry, making plenty of pastry so we can feed all of our customers. And we do try to make them as beautiful as possible. But one day, if I was able to just focus on the design of pastry, I just think that would be really fun. And it's kind of a nice goal to have in the back of my mind. But I would never want to prioritize form over flavor, as Paul Hollywood always warns about on the British Baking Show, the Great British Baking Show. So my priority is always flavor first. One dream that we did always have, or specifically Ellen had, was to be able to sell freshly baked bread at our bakery. When we first started, we had been in the cake decorating business. Ellen had made wedding cakes and cakes for events. And then as we started to switch into a more artisan bakery, one dream she really had was being able to sell those beautiful artisan loaves, baguettes, things like that. But for 3 years, really, we focused more on things with larger profit margins, things that could be effectively baked in our oven that we already had, which was a convection oven. And about, I want to say 2 years ago, we finally made the leap and bought a bread oven. And this was so exciting for Ellen because she was finally able to make bulk artisan loaves. And we've really enjoyed just having a bread oven. You can make artisan pizza in bread ovens and all different kinds of artisan loaves. But the thing we sell the most of in terms of bread is our sourdough bread. We used to do different inclusions, but because we could only get about 50 loaves out a day before we open, we were just selling too many plain loaves that we stopped doing the specialty loaves, and just focused on our simple sourdough recipe. And if you are looking for that recipe that's also on the blog, I will link it in the description below. And that is our easy sourdough bread recipe. A lot of people ask me where we got our knowledge of baking, and they always ask me, well, was it your mom that taught you? And while our mom did teach us a lot of skills, and she was a very talented baker and cook herself, I would say both of us didn't learn the majority of our skills until later in life. Ellen was a NICU nurse, and she spent many years doing night shift. And during the days when she wouldn't work, she would kind of stay up late to stay on her night shift schedule. And while up late, she spent a lot of time baking. She really just had a love for baking. So she spent a lot of time learning different recipes, learning what she did like, what she didn't like. And that gave her enough knowledge to have a very successful cake decorating business. And then while I was in college, COVID had hit. So I was at home a lot, and that is where I started to learn to bake, was in my college apartment. I have mentioned this before, but I got the Bosch Bakery cookbook, and I just went page by page, recipe by recipe, and tried to learn each of those recipes. And it was really that time where I learned most of my knowledge on baking. And then obviously we've learned as we go. We've just learned more and more about brioche, about whole grains, about sourdough as we've perfected our recipes and, spent 5 years baking them. If you're wondering, these are our honey buns. They are rolled out a little bit thicker than cinnamon rolls, and they're cut a little bit thinner, so they're not as high as cinnamon rolls. They're thicker dough than cinnamon rolls, and then they get glazed with a vanilla glaze instead of cream cheese icing. And we try to put that glaze on while they're still warm so that it really soaks into the rolls, and it tastes a little bit more like a donut than our typical cinnamon roll does. Here we are making our loaded baked potato focaccia. Whenever I recommend items to customers, I either recommend our coconut cream cake or our loaded baked potato focaccia. It's one of my favorite foods. I think it's probably the best tailgate food or appetizer for an event. Although it's a lot of steps and a lot of work if you're at home, I definitely recommend giving it a try sometime when you have a weekend to bake. And that recipe is also on the blog. I will link it again in the description box below. So as I mentioned, this is our chocolate raspberry cake. Like I said, we sell it on Saturdays by the slice. And then we also sell it each Saturday. You can pre-order an eighth of this sheet cake. So that's 2 different ways to sell it. And I often talk about how cake is a very good option for home bakers because it is primarily all the different cakes you want to make are usually covered under cottage food laws. So in the state of Ohio, cottage food laws, as long as you abide by them, you don't need a license for your kitchen. I know it's different in other states, but usually different states have similar cottage food laws. Some of them do require a license, but it's more of a relaxed inspection of your home, not so much as rigid as a commercial kitchen's license would be. But under cottage food laws, you can sell cake fairly easily. Buttercream is under cottage food law. Cake is under cottage food law. Jams, fillings, as long as it doesn't have cream cheese or shelf stable or things that aren't shelf stable in it, then it is good under cottage food laws. So cream cheese buttercream is not under cottage food law. But I have heard of people adding in the instant pudding cheesecake to their buttercream to give it that cheesecake or cream cheese flavor. And I just thought that was a really interesting tip that my friend from Home Baked by Kate, if you want to follow her on Instagram, she's a wonderful micro baker, but she said she does that to abide by cottage food laws. So yeah, while the only downside to cake is that the packaging can become expensive, but if you can find good quality packaging, then cake is a great option for home bakers. Saturdays are interesting because usually at the start of the morning, things feel very slow because we're all doing the same thing over and over and over again. So Lizzie is on cinnamon rolls where she's icing cinnamon rolls and boxing them, and she does that for probably 2 hours at least. And then Paige is doing sandwiches normally, which is where she assembles our focaccia sandwiches and then wraps them up and puts them into the heater to keep them nice and fresh. And Ellen's working on sourdough. I'm maybe doing croissants. And then towards the end of the morning, it's all hands on deck and things start to feel very fast paced because we're taking all that product that we prepped and we're putting it out onto the case and we're just getting things ready for customers. And here I am posing with my snowflakes that I made that I was very proud of and the menu that we designed for the holiday season. And then here is the case mostly set up, and I just felt like it was extra beautiful today, full of delicious food, and I just was really excited to open up today. I probably laugh every time I see this gingerbread house because it's very beautiful and Ellen bought it, but I always think it looks like a gingerbread asylum. And I'm sorry if that ruins it for you, but I just can't help but see that. I saw it once and now I can't unsee it. But there is Mary and Bailey going over their tasks for the day. There are high school employees and they have been wonderful and we're so lucky to have them on Saturdays. Here is our table full of our cinnamon rolls and our pecan rolls and our gingerbread rolls and our honey buns. And then we also keep our ham and cheddar quiche out on this table, as well as our cookies by the dozen. If you're someone who loves to bake, I definitely think you should try out our cinnamon roll recipe. If you go to the FLOURBARNhomestead.com, it's the recipe I have pinned to the top of our blog. I've gotten a lot of good feedback on it, and I think it's just a really easy brioche cinnamon roll recipe that feels gourmet, but is totally doable in your home kitchen. So if you like to bake and you're looking for a recipe to try out, maybe even for Christmas morning, I definitely recommend going to the FLOURBARNhomestead.com and checking out that jumbo cinnamon roll recipe. I will also link it in the description box below. For those of you who have been following along for a little while, you know I normally release one episode every 2 weeks, but one, I had lots of footage from the Christmas season, and two, I just reached 10,000 subscribers, so I'm very excited and I wanted to kind of thank you guys by making an extra video for the Christmas season, so that is why there's an extra video this week. And I just wanted to say thank you for everybody who's been testing out our recipes or even just watching our videos. It means so much to me that you guys take time out of your day to just kind of check in with what's going on at our little micro bakery. And to anyone new here, thank you for watching this video. If you love baking and you have enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel, The Flour Barn Homestead. Follow us on Instagram at Flour Barn. Follow us on Facebook at The Flour Barn. And if you want to check out our recipes, check out theflourbarnhomestead.com. Thank you guys so much for watching. Merry Christmas!